Hi, it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel, 50 Shades of Black and White, where I try to wipe away the stigma of mental illness. I talk about my own mental illness, borderline personality disorder. I talk about my therapies, my unethical psychologist. I talk about many health issues, narcissism, post-traumatic stress disorder, schizophrenia, bipolar, and a host of many things to deal with mental health. I only come on, though, as a former patient, not as a therapist. I do not have a degree in psychology, so I cannot give you my professional opinion. I can only give you my very personal opinion, which I do. It's okay to disagree with me. That's fine, as long as you're kind to me, kind to others in the comments. If this is your first time here, welcome. Please subscribe. It's 100% free. And if you like what you see, give it a thumbs up. Now, I'm always welcoming tongue-tied today, my subscribers to tell me what they'd like to talk about. And if it's anything that I'm, have a little knowledge of, I will certainly do it. I don't want to come on here and cover a topic that I have absolutely zero knowledge of, because then I won't be able to do it justice. I'd just be reading off a screen, and I don't, you can do that yourself. So someone suggested to me that I talk about limerence. Now, what is limerence? And especially limerence that people with borderline personality disorder have, okay? So in relation to that, because anyone can have limerence. It doesn't mean that you have borderline personality disorder or that you have any disorder or any mental illness at all. Limerence is a burning, fierce passion that takes over your mind and your actions. What you are experiencing might feel like love, but it's not love. It's limerence. It's a feeling of being in love, and there's 3 stages to it. It's a dewy-eyed, magical sensation when you are near that person. So isn't it just like infatuation when you say that's the same type of feeling? There's 3 stages of it, and the first one is infatuation. Now, why I want to say that, anyone can feel these feelings and have limerence and be all, obsessed and do, heart beating, butterflies in the stomach, and infatuated with someone. It doesn't mean they have borderline personality disorder. But what I'm trying to get at is when people who have borderline personality disorder like me, and when we feel this limerence, it's over the top. And this is exactly how it was with me, with my first psychologist. Well, he wasn't my first psychologist. With the first man I fell in love with, Dr. Richard Geist. The reason why it was over the top with him is because he returned the feeling. Now, I had infatuations since I was 10 years old. I was infatuated, if you go back years into my videos, at 10 years old, I was infatuated with a painter. This painter, he was like probably late 40s or 50, and I was 10 years old, and I was infatuated. Another time I was crazy gaga goo infatuated. I left him love notes on the ladder. On his ladder. When I was like 14, I was infatuated with the manager of Hanley's shoe store in West Roxbury. I wrote him love letters, and he wanted to meet me, but I lied in the love letters, and I told him I was a 19-year-old blonde when I was really jailbait at 14. So anyway, I've had infatuations all my life, but when I met Dr. Richard Geist, he returned my feelings. See, these people I was infatuated with, didn't want nothing to do with me, Of course, when that guy, the manager from the shoe store, found out I was 14 and jailbait, toodaloo. And all the other infatuations that I had, I've been infatuated with engineers when I worked at Sona Webster engineering firm. None of them had any feelings. It wasn't reciprocal, you see. When I was with Dr. Geis, it was reciprocal. So the feelings were over the top because this man gave me 5 hours a week for years for free. This man gave me his home number in Maine, told me to come to his vacation home, allowed me to sit in his lap and touch him in his private parts. And so what I'm trying to say here is why I went almost into a breakdown over this unethical relationship is because this is the first time I had those feelings that were returned. You know, I had like tons and tons of other infatuations, but those men never returned the feelings. This was the first time, and even he said it himself. His exact words were, "This is the first time in your life that you were in love and it's been returned." So he is telling me basically that he felt the same way that I did, and his actions backed it up by spending all this time. We went to the park together, rolled in the grass together at the park, a public park right near where he lives. If you buy my books, I put the links down. I put the links to my books. You'll be able to read in graphic detail about these therapies. Now, let's get into limerence. I just want to tell you why it was over the top, and I felt like I was losing my mind with that psychologist. Infatuation or attachment is getting to know you phase where the two of you start to feel unique and divulge, where the two start to feel unique and divulge personal things about themselves. It may begin to be very innocent and friendly. A working relationship, a casual friend, spending time together, but then the feelings get more assertive as the limerence progresses. All right, the pros and cons in stage 1 of the limerence. In the attachment phase, people tend to pull away out of fear. Now, I'm reading from something, as you know. I always did that when I was in that therapy. I was so afraid of getting hurt and so afraid and scared of these newfound feelings, I never had these feelings return in my life. Like, I've had infatuations with men where I got the butterflies and my heart goes boom, 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 boom. I mean, that never happened with me and my husband. With me, it was like marrying my best friend, marrying my husband. But with other men, I had infatuations where I got the butterflies, I started sweating, I started blushing bright red, my heart started beating fast and my hands were dripping in sweat, and those kind of intense feelings. No, but when there returns, then, especially when you have borderline personality disorder, you can be feel like it's over the top. Remember, we have intense emotions, people with my disorder. So all these feelings I have, and then when it's returned, then when he allows me to sit in his lap and touch him in private, intimate ways and goes to the park with me, and does things, invites me in his house and does these things with me, then the feelings feel like heightened, like I can't, I've never had this. It's too intense. It's like being in the middle of a fire. It's like being in the eye of a tornado, like with being sucked up in the vortex. It's like falling into the abyss. I mean, it was so over the top that I wrote a formal complaint to the licensing board, but later on I rescinded it. I pulled it back because it was like a drug, you know what I mean? I was like an addict, okay? I was just like a drug addict with this psychologist. All right, it says you haven't built a strong attachment to... No, that's not true. What's the first phase? It's some people go through these phases without falling obsessively in love. Well, that's not me. I mean, that wasn't me at all. I mean, this is how... This probably talking about your average person have limerence. But to me, the second phase, crystallization. In this stage of limerence, Picture the white hot intensity of 1,000 suns. Okay, that's how I was feeling in the first stage because I have borderline personality disorder. One or both persons become enamored with each other as the attraction builds. You're getting shots of dopamine. That drug dopamine. It's like a high. Since I never taken drugs, I can't tell you that. You know, it's because I never even tried pot, so I never really got high. But I'm telling you, when I was with this psychologist in the relationship I had with him, I felt higher than a kite. I couldn't sleep, I couldn't eat, I couldn't function. I lived to see him. I stayed in the house all day, and all I did was print myself up, went in my closet and spent an hour to pick out the right outfit, a short mini skirt, a tight high heels, and primping myself up to the max, a low cut top and everything, and just lived for seeing him. That's how it was. Like it says right here, like white hot intensity of 1,000 suns. Yeah. Phase 2 is a cement that binds the picture, making it whole. People feel more understood, loved by their limerent lover, more so than anyone else, more so than their current spouse. But I told you that my relationship with my current spouse was more like friends with benefits. I never had that, over the top. I never was physically attracted to my husband. I never felt like, that chemistry, that hot heat, so I felt this with this psychologist and another psychologist that I did end up having 2 years, a sexual affair with for 2 years. These are the only two men in my life that I felt that kind of, intense, over the top, especially with Dr. Richard Geis. No one has compared to him ever. It says in this crystallization phase, you don't see any of the person's flaws and defend them without hesitation. All right. Abandoning integrity or moral beliefs. Once you enter stage 2 of the crystallization of the limerence, this is stage 2 now. Stage 1 was infatuation. This is stage 2. You feel like your life is uprooted. That's exactly how I felt. This is what it's saying here. I felt like my whole life was uprooted. Abandoning integrity or moral code. And we both abandoned integrity and moral code. He was married, I was married. And we were doing things unethical because he was my psychologist that we shouldn't have been doing. The second psychologist that I felt this way for, we went all out and had a 2-year hot sexual affair. And they were both my psychologists, and I was married during the times with both of them. So it says during this crystallization phase, you just throw integrity and morals right out the window during this phase. You begin to think about life together and move that plan into action. Any religious beliefs once held have now changed to accept their lover and erase any guilt or felt or spirituality. The relationship is typically sexual at this point, and the affair will exaggerate the flaws of your spouse. It's not that my husband had flaws. My husband was really nice. It was that, I never had those feelings for my husband. So, I wanted to know, if you never felt anything before in your life, like a person who's never experienced snow, right? That's a good analogy. They would love to, go outside and have it snow on them. If they were from the Caribbean, way down, south, and they never saw snow, never felt snow, never rolled in snow, never saw snow, it would be like, wow, because they never experienced that. And I've had infatuations, but these two psychologists, because these were the only men that gave me love and sex back in a way, because it was mutual. I felt it and they felt it. With my husband, it's one-sided. He feels it for me, and I just go through the motions. I don't feel it for him. Did you look at that interview with me and my husband? I'm being 100% honest, you know. I'm really being honest in these videos. Um, all right. Chemicals in your brain are firing. It's just like shooting stars, and it's just like dopamine. Dopamine. When you're in love, attracted, right then your brain releases dopamine, a brain chemical that enhances the feelings of euphoria. And that's how I felt. And that's why I felt it was so over the top, especially as a borderline. I'm feeling all these feelings. I never felt them before, never had them returned. Okay. I never felt them from my husband. And when I was infatuated before, the men I was infatuated never returned the feelings. So here they are, these two psychologists, and they're giving me this rush, this drug. I'm like an addict. That's why I turned to alcohol when those relationships ended. I turned to alcohol. Someone told me this. A professional told me this. You turned into an alcoholic because those psychologists were drugs. They were your drug. And when you no longer had them, then you needed a fix. And then I turned to alcohol. Because, you know, the euphoria, you know, that I had from this, I couldn't function. I mean, I literally could not function. As I said, I had severe insomnia. I turned into an alcoholic. I had severe panic attacks. I mean, my life was um, like caught in the eye of a storm, you know, like in the middle of a hurricane, a tsunami, like, you know, standing there and having this giant wave wash completely over me. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it, like being hit by a train. And people with OCD, which I did a video about obsessive compulsive disorder. That's another video I did, because I do have obsessive compulsive disorder, as well as having borderline personality disorder, as well as having post traumatic stress disorder, as well as having panic attacks, as well as having ADHD. I mean, I could go on and on with the shit that I have. So it's chemicals. It's chemical drug reaction in this phase. Okay, it's all chemicals in like you're an addict. You know, especially think of a borderline. You know, think about someone like me, who can't even handle, you know, the normal feelings, having these over the top feelings. And then the third phase is stage 3. The third stage is deterioration. Um, so it says the halo effect dwindles and the flaws that you never noticed before become more apparent. And I think what happened is it took a long time for me to admit that, to really come to stage 3. In both of the cases with Dr. Richard Geis and Dr. James Barberi, it took a very long time for me to open, like, you know, really open my eyes to it, and really like kind of wake up. But the thing is, even though I can't, everything, you know, what I did is I just completely, you know, shut off my feelings, and kind of like dissociated, like turned off like a light switch, like from going to intense light to complete darkness. I kind of like, because I could not, you know, and then I ended up drinking very heavy, like drinking heavy volumes of vodka every day, because during this stage where, you know, the shit hits the fan, let's face it. That's the best way I can describe it. Stage 3 in Limerence, for borderlines, or for me, let's say for me, the shit hit the fan. And then it just feels like a knife in the gut. Like a knife in the gut. Your whole world just dissolves. Everything totally dissolves, and you never ever want to go through that kind of, you're shattered. I was shattered. I said now, and I've said it before in other videos, I went from a broken woman to a shattered woman. I am totally shattered. And I cannot ever feel a lot, feel again, because I'm in pieces, not broken in 2 or 3 parts. I'm in pieces. I am completely shattered, you know? And so I just like, in this kind of stage, um, you know, I let myself go horribly. Like I said, I started drinking heavy, getting drunk every day, completely shut down, didn't dissociated. I didn't ever want to talk to anyone. I kind of like completely became a hermit, you know. This was like, you know, death. To me, it was like a slow, agonizing death, this stage. Um, and now, today, how I'm trying to get over that, work that out, is by writing all these books, which I have over the last couple of years, doing this channel, so I can, you know, um, because I don't have any friends to talk to. I don't have anyone to talk to. I'm certainly not going back to therapy again. So I kind of like get out and open up about what I've been through on my channel. And by doing that, it kind of is therapeutic for me, because, you know, you're listening to me, um, you know, so someone is hearing my story, and certain people validate me. I've had someone in the comments, in one of my videos, really write a lengthy, I think she wrote 3 or 4 paragraphs. She was a psychology student, and I really felt immensely better after reading what she wrote. It really validated my pain. Some people don't validate my pain, and that's okay. I'm not asking anything of you. You know what I mean? It's not your job to validate me. You know, you're not my therapist. But when someone like that does come on and does say things like that validate me, I can't tell you how good that makes me feel. It really, really makes me feel good. So I hope I did this a little justice in explaining the limerence, the 3 stages, and how it related to me personally in my story. And I hope I did it well for the person that wanted me to talk about it. All right, until next time, drop me some comments and let me know.